guys, thanks for checking out the video. I'm Joe, this is my little channel, Random Computes. Today we're going to be messing around with this computer that I just picked up for 60 bucks off of Craigslist. It has an AMD Phenom 955, I'm not sure if it's the black edition. It's got a GT 630 with 1 gigabyte of DDR3, so it's going to be our limiting factor for sure. And we have a pretty cool cooler. It's a pretty cool cooler, nice. It's a Zellman cooler. Was checking it out, and it's held in by a zip tie, so that's nifty. The seller said it whenever he turned it on, it come to a black screen and says you need to select the proper boot device. And you know, that's not really much of a surprise whenever you have your hard drive just kind of sitting in the front of the case like this. So you know, that does kill them. This case does have toolless drive bay. You just take that out, slide it in, and put the hard drive in. It's really not that hard. I'm not a hard drive in this. But that's probably what's the problem, is kill the hard drive. We'll be throwing an SSD in it, running a few tests, and see what happens. Let's do a quick overview of it. Alright, so our motherboard is an Asus M4A 89TD Pro USB 3. There's our crappy GT630. There's the Zellman cooler. I'm not sure of the model. But there's the sweet zip tie. It's a little dirty, but nothing terrible. We have 4 gigabytes of DDR3. Power supply is not too bad. It's a TX 750M, and I'm assuming it's from a different build since the custom sleeve cables don't really match, and this side panel is solid anyway, so you can't even see anything. I don't know why you'd go through that much trouble with this computer, but yeah. The DVD drive, not even plugged in, it's just a placeholder. And, yeah, let's run some tests and see what she does. Alright, right from the start we can tell this is going to go as expected. We have minimum usage on the CPU, and everything is on that GT630. My gameplay really isn't that bad. I'm not great at gaming, but I'm definitely better than this. The input lag is definitely messing this up. So I've had enough of this. Let's go ahead and swap this out. Alright, well, we got back here a lot sooner than expected, but yeah, that was pretty rough. It kind of reminded me of the scene in that old movie Casper, where he ties their shoestrings together when they're in school. Bell rings, they get up, hit the floor. It's a pretty good analogy for what happened to our performance, I think. I mean, if you got a better one, let me know. Alright, so to fix this, since I kind of want to show how the 955 shines, I'm hoping I can show that. Alright, we got an RTX 3070, and I also upgraded the RAM to 16 gigabytes. Oh, I had to take it out of the case just so the graphics card fits, so if you're wondering. Alright, let's run some tests now. Forgot to mention that I also overclocked to 4.1 gigahertz, so that helps us out a lot. But as you can see, we're no longer limited by the GT630. The gameplay is much better. It's so much better to play like this. I'm getting almost 100% usage on our CPU and 20% on a GPU, so the GPU is obviously an overkill. And this game up is Batman Arkham Knight, just running the standard benchmark, seeing how it runs. We're Everything's on the highest settings and 1080p, just letting it run through its benchmark, or 90-ish FPS, so not bad at all. Borderlands 3, we still ran 1080p with the highest settings, and we struggled a little bit on this one. The utilization just wasn't quite there on this one. We're seeing 60-70% utilization on the CPU and about 40 on the GPU. This is a newer game, so it's going to be a little bit harder on the graphics card, but just the drivers just aren't there for this setup, I guess. Well, the drivers and this processor is also out in 2009, so it might have something to do with it. I don't know about you, but that was probably my best screen transition I've ever made. But here's Crassus, the original Crassus. 1080p, highest settings. Just kind of showing off the scenery there. Around 40 frames per second. And if you look at our CPU utilization, it's pretty low. We got like one core that's being hit pretty hard. The rest of them just sitting around doing nothing. The GPU's 30%, 20%. It's all over the place, but the fans haven't even spun up on any of these games yet. It's just sitting there and chilling, being held back by this older processor, but still able to game. You obviously don't need a 3070 for this. That's a horrible GPU to combine with this. It's kind of like putting a V8 big block into a Chevy Vega. Just because you can doesn't mean you should, but if you do, record it so other people can watch, because it could be entertaining. Fortnite ran flawless, definitely a high FPS experience here. It doesn't help my gameplay at all. I'm terrible at this game. The only time I ever play it is during videos, so just to show off, because people always ask, how does it run Fortnite? So there you go, 160, 170 frames per second. But again, no amount of frames per second can help my gameplay. Look at that. That's terrible. Grand Theft Auto 5, as usual, just runs great. Seeing great utilization across all the cores. A little bit of utilization on the GPU. I think on this one, the fans actually spun up a little bit, like at 15-20%, something like that. This is a new one that I just seen on Random Gaming in HD. He did a video playing around on this one, and looked like a fun game, so I decided to go ahead and give it a shot. Seeing over 100 frames per second. This one's more GPU dependent. See, our processor's barely being used, but looked like a fun game, so I wanted to add it and give it a shot. This one's an Unreal Tournament 2017, 1080p, highest settings again. Played great, almost 100 frames per second on average here. Well, not much else to say about it. I mean, again, my gameplay is terrible, but hey, frames are great. Alright, I'm going to finish this video with a couple synthetic benchmarks. This one is Cinebench R20. I have it sped up by 20x, so hopefully it's not too boring for you guys. We end up with a score of 797. Not too bad, but it's definitely showing its age. Next up is 3D Mark 11. This one is sped up by 10x. If you still have this processor, you should probably start to think about upgrading it. It runs older games okay, but newer games, it's lacking the instructions. Like Red Dead Redemption 2, it's missing a couple instructions to run that, also Cyberpunk. There are some patches and kind of ghetto ways you can get around that, but who knows how long they're going to work for, and it's just going to be kind of a pain in the ass to keep patching that. Alright, with this, I'm going to end this one, guys. If you liked the video, hit the like. If you hated it, you know what button that is. If you're not subscribed and you like this kind of stuff, consider subscribing. There'll be a couple more videos to the left and to the right. If you guys are interested in those, click on those. And I have another video coming out with a retro console. You guys stay tuned for that one.